Hello and welcome to Roadmap 2019. On this program, we talk to some of the major players in Nigeria's road to the 2019 general polls. I am Ladi Akiridoluale. Thanks for joining us. My guest on this edition has described his recent move as a seismic shift in Nigeria's political terrain and describes it as the culmination of a desire to stabilize the polity. He believes that President Buhari will win next year's presidential election and that he will not only support him, he will campaign fervently for his victory. Now, please join us as we talk to the former Senate Minority Leader, as well as immediate past governor of Nigeria's Akpabio State, Senator Godswill Akpabio. Your Excellency, thank you for your time. Welcome to Roadmap 2019.
Thank you for having me.
Now, so many people were caught unawares by your move from one direction to the other. Most people expected moves from one direction to another, but yours was in the other direction. I think this is the first time you probably will have the opportunity to explain why you took that decision. Why did you?
Well, for me, I think it was very sudden, the decision to move from the People's Democratic Party, where I was one of the chieftains, to the All Progressive Congress. It has generated a lot of controversy
yes,
in the polity. But the reality is that I moved in the national interest. I moved as a result of personal convictions. And I moved in order to also contribute my quota towards serving democracy in Nigeria.
Now, many who hear you say that will ask the question, but in the PDP, as you said, you were not just one of the chieftains, as you described it, you were one of the principal chieftains.
Yes.
Starting from sometime early in this democratic situation.
Yes.
You've been in the PDP, you served as commissioner in Akpabio, you became governor 2 terms, you became chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, you went from there to the Senate, and right during your first term, you were made the Senate Minority Leader. So people will say, what more could you possibly be thinking that would make you move in that direction, especially at this time?
Well, I wouldn't say it was a spur of the moment decision. But I would rather say that what actually happened was that I saw a situation where the country was likely to go into crisis as a result of what I may call sudden defections. I saw a systematic attempt to bring democracy to an end in the country. In the People's Democratic Party, we suffered a major setback when in 2014 or thereabout, we had some governors with some chieftains who walked out on us at Eagle Square during the National Convention. And thereafter, they teamed up with a couple of others, and then the APC was formed. And we thought it was a joke. But it turned out that at the end of the day, after the 2015 elections, we suffered major defeat. And I think that was the first time in the history of Nigeria that an incumbent federal government will be defeated by the opposition. And it was also a fantastic beauty for democracy, if you understand.
I do.
And it was a good sign for Africa. Therefore, when I watched what was going on in the Senate, it could have been advantageous to my party, my party at that time, then, the People's Democratic Party, but I found out we were likely to crash the federal government. And I said, when will this end? Because if we put a government into power and we don't support that government to succeed, and then we are not going to bequeath a better nation to future generations of Nigerians. Continuous distractions of government in the past, not just one government, governments generally, including the state governments in some instances, had resulted in a lot of dislocation of policies and stunted growth. Today, Africa generally is almost a laughingstock in the community of civilized democracies in the world because so much noise is made so much during election, and at the end, so little, in terms of deliverables. And then these things are as a result of continuous conspiracies against governments and all sorts of things. So I don't think the movements that we saw from the APC to my party, my then party, the People's Democratic Party, were prompted by national interest. I think most of those things were based on personal interests of individuals. Some felt that they may not be able to win election. Some felt that they had offended the principalities in their party, and so they decided to move. For me, I saw a situation where the ruling party was not only being distracted, but the movements were capable of bringing down the government. We need to have Nigeria before we can have election. We have a country can crash under 3 months. We need to have Nigeria before we can have election. So I just assessed the situation, and I said that I needed to contribute my quota towards stabilizing the situation, towards ensuring that people realize that it wasn't all about conspiracy to bring down a government. We should conspire to resolve the insecurity situation. We should conspire to provide employment opportunities. We should conspire to stabilize the government, to ensure that we leave a better future for our children. We should conspire to bring food to the table of Nigerians. We should conspire to ensure employment opportunities for our children, not to conspire to just take government for the taking of government, for the sake of government. The reason I'm saying this is that in 2015, when a group of Nigerians, I would say so, major stakeholders then, in my then party, the People's Democratic Party, came together and conspired to crash the government of the then president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. They were able to give all sorts of reasons, inability to ensure the security of the nation. Boko Haram was terrorizing the northeastern part of Nigeria, was likely to spread to the northwest, was likely to come to the south or whatever, and so there was need for them to do something to ensure that the government was changed. But we've seen now that a change of government, a change at the federal level, was not necessarily in the interest, of the nation. It was in the interest of those people. Now President Buhari's government has come. It has shown a lot of commitment towards fighting insurgency. At that time, when we were in charge in the PDP, I can tell you that so many communities and local governments across the Northeast were under the control of Boko Haram. Yeah. Their flags were flying everywhere, and they were moving around. They were in charge. In fact, they were a government within government. So we could say that we'd lost a lot of territories. But since this administration of President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, they have managed to ensure that no single territory is being held by Boko Haram. So, of course, what happened next? The next thing that happened was the escalation of the herdsmen-farmers clashes. And thereafter, the entry of terrorists from outside Nigeria, some from Libya, some from Nigeria and other places. And so before you knew it, there was the emergence of IPOP, the Indigenous Peoples, Biafra. And then, of course, we have not totally settled the issue of Niger Delta militancy. And our fear is that the OPC, Odua People's Movement, could also come on stream. But what will that tell you? In my senatorial district, we have a group of young militants who have taken over 3 of my senatorial districts today. You go there, you will not see life at all. The internally displaced
completely empty.
Completely empty. Houses are empty. One of them is a place in Okanafon. Another one is in a place in Etimegbo. And now it has also entered into one of my local governments, Kolika. I have 10 local governments under my senatorial district. And so a change of the federal government is not necessarily a panacea towards stability of the nation and security of the nation. I think what we need to do as Nigerians is in a bipartisan way, across party lines, when we install a government at the federal level, we must support that government to succeed.
I'm sorry,
the political party does not matter at this stage.
I'm sorry, Your Excellency, I have to interrupt you and ask at this point.
Yes.
Now, if you say that we need stability,
yes,
and that your movement was to provide some kind of stability because you could see where we were headed
Yes.
with the way the movements
yeah,
were
were
going
going.
at the time. There will be those who will say, well, if that was the case, since you were one of the big
Beneficiaries,
guns,
put
and
it
you,
that
were,
way.
and you were also going to be one of the big beneficiaries from the way things were
yes.
going, was it not possible to do what you wanted to within the ambit of the PDP?
No, you don't even understand. Election is in 2019.
Yes.
And the movements we are talking about
Happened this
that
year.
happened this year,
2018.
and the movements, like I said, looking at it, what would be the end result? Capable of crashing the federal government.
You mean even before the
Even
election?
before the election.
Okay.
That was why I said we need to have Nigeria before we talk about election. You see, Nigerians are not so much interested in who is in charge. Nigerians want to be secured. Nigerians want to sleep with their eyes closed. Nigerians want to see their children getting employment. They want to see good schools. They want to be able to walk and move around without a let or hindrance. Nobody wants his child to go to school and then he's not sure the child will come back alive. Everybody wants his community to be safe with the kind of things that were going on. But you see, we seem to miss the point. The point is that we have a major situation in Nigeria. When a country is in crisis, when there is an emergency, every hand must be on deck. We are not learning from America and other places. When 9/11 occurred, there was nobody who started blaming President Bush.